What's good, everyone? This is RawTruth Media, giving you the raw content that you deservedly need. Please like and share this video. And as you know, no background music. This is authentic, real talk right here. There's a lot going on. The NFL draft, and hopefully there's more players from HBCUs drafted than last season. And then the transfer portal. Let me talk about the transfer portal because this needs to be said. I feel like the transfer portal is not being navigated properly. Now, anyone that loves sports, we would love for athletes to stay at one school for 4 years, but that's not reality. Reality is a lot of these athletes today, it seems like they don't know how to navigate the portal. No matter what school, whether it's Jackson State, FAMU, it's barely FAMU. Speaking of FAMU, there's not a lot of players transferring out of FAMU. That's very impressive. That's not being talked about enough, but let me digress. Grambling, Alabama State, and so forth, many schools. I'm not going to list all of them, but y'all know. And you see players who have either started, some players that were all conference, and some that barely played. But I want everyone to hear this, and some of you that are listening may be athletes at a HBCU. You got to have a plan. I often wonder if I was a transfer portal athlete, how would I navigate it? Number one, I know that 2 degrees is very valuable, especially in today's time. So what I would do, remember, you could play as long as you want now. COVID has changed everything. There's players that play in their 6th year. So you got enough time. You got enough time to develop. But if I was an athlete in today's time, because I'm 30 going on 31, I would wait until I get my first degree and then transfer somewhere else and get another degree at a different school after that. Then you have 2 degrees. You know how difficult that is to get 2 degrees? Having 2 degrees is hitting the lotto. When you have that, you go into an interview, you're getting that job. If you want to be a software engineer and you have 2 degrees, 9 out of 10 times you skip into the front of the line. What is your plan? And I don't know that some of these athletes have a plan. I know that most of them probably, I'm not trying to assume, but come on, it's common sense. I'm sure they have friends or family members all in their ear. Nah, you don't need to be playing at this HBCU. You got to go to P5. That's the only way you can make it to the NFL. That's the only way. They're telling these kids that, selling them false hope. And not even players who play in the FBS make it to the NFL. Only a few. And you have to be damn good. Everybody thinks that they got to be Joe Burrow. Oh, if Joe Burrow could transfer from Ohio State and LSU and win a national championship and improve his draft stock, that could be me too. But you should know that's a rarity. That's very lucky. And again, back to what I stated, Russian roulette. And what puzzles me when you're starting and you have a great position, a secure position that not too many college players have, you're able to put numbers. You're able to be the guy and you leave. You started to see a lot of transfer portal players do that. You're starting to see a lot of players from the HBCU space leave. And you could do whatever you want. You're a grown man. But hopefully, in next year or the year after that, all I ask for is evaluate your situation before you make quick decisions. Because I'm telling you right now, TC Taylor has done a great job, by the way. You're starting to see he's not re-offering players that jump in the portal and that want to come back. He's doing that for a reason. Because once you leave, he's moved on. And you can't blame TC Taylor. You can't blame Hugh Jackson. You can't blame Willie Simmons. You can't blame Connell Maynard. When you leave, and all of a sudden, you're not getting enough interest, you want to come back, or you leave, but you want to transfer right back because you're not going to play that much. They've moved on. They had to move on. They had to fill the roster spot. And these head coaches, they didn't want it to be that way. But heck, you left. I don't want to sound like I'm hating, which I'm not. I just want to provide the facts and the reality of things are not so sweet when you transfer. And then I see some people point to Tank Dell. Tank Dell's situation was different because when he was at Alabama A&M, he wasn't the player that he was at Houston. Matter of fact, in the comment section, you correct me if I'm wrong, he wasn't the number 1 or number 2 receiver at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. What was he, the slot receiver? Then he transferred and then he blossomed. But again, if you look at the numbers, those are just those rare situations. Right place, right time. But it can't happen to everybody. I'm going to tell you a smart transfer. Shane Hooks, he was thinking about going to the NFL. Then he reevaluated and thought to himself that he should have another year in college. Since he already put his hat in that he was going to leave, he had to choose another destination to go to college. That's different, and that's actually smart now. He chose Ole Miss, and I'm telling you right now, out of all the JSU guys that went to a perfect spot, he did. Because Lane Kiffin in that offense is perfect for his game. But again, Shane Hooks, an upperclassman, did what he had to do at Jackson State, and now is going to play in the SEC. And I already told you how TC Taylor does things. Once you say you're leaving, then he is going to move on. And he's going to reload and not rebuild. Same thing with Willie Simmons. The good thing at FAMU is that FAMU hasn't had that much, to be honest, transfer loss. It's pretty rare. And that needs to be talked about. The fact that not too many players from FAMU are transferring out tells you all you need to know, that they love the campus of FAMU. They love the head coach and Willie Simmons. They love the players. I've seen quarterbacks on their team that are still there, waiting their turn. They could have transferred out because Musa came in and he took the Sentinel Carlo position and he decided to play another year, a graduate senior, by the way. And you could play 6 years in college because of COVID, and that changed everything. But let me digress. They're still there. Maritovich is still there, the quarterback. And he's been there for pretty much 2 years going on 3. Nobody's transferring out of FAMU. That's amazing. I just want these kids to make, and I shouldn't even say kids, these are young men. I want these young men to really think long and hard before they make any decision. Talk to people that have been in your position. Weigh the pros and cons. Don't just transfer because you're second string and you've been at a college for 2 years. Don't just transfer because you're starting, but you're not getting the limelight like you would if you're at Alabama or any of those schools. Don't just transfer because a coach who moved on is all up in your ear and say, hey, play for me. I'll get you to the top. I'll get you to the NFL, feeding you a bunch of bullshit. Because that's recruiting. You got to do what's best for you, but you got to think clear and concise. Everything's got to be clear. Education, comfortability, that's important. And where you see yourself in 20 years. Remember when I made the recruiting video, I said, when you pick a college, it's not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. When you have that thought process, when you're mapping everything out, you realize those type of players don't transfer out of their schools. And besides, why are you committing because of a coach anyway? When you know most coaches leave. You commit to the school, and you commit to the school that produce coaches. See, that's a smart way to go by it. I give an example. Boise State. You know that if a coach leaves, they're going to hire a good coach. LSU. You know that if one coach leaves, another one that has won at a high level before will be hired. North Dakota State. You know that when one coach leaves and go to the FBS, they're going to hire another one. And they did that once Chris Klein left. Then Matt Ince took over and he won the national championship, I believe, in 2021. Tradition, culture, and consistency is what you should look for in education. So be smart with your choices. HBCUs can provide a lot of successful alumni, a lot of history. But you got to believe in it. And now we get to see which athletes believe in leveling the playing field for HBCUs and those who are just talking. We get to see it now. But now to the NFL. Today is an important day. We got a lot of hours to go before the NFL starts, the NFL draft, that is. And when I said, not just me, Coach G has shout out to Coach G. He does a great job of breaking things down. And plenty of others believe that this year's draft talent from HBCUs is a lot better than last year. Percentage-wise, numbers-wise. I know James Houston was fantastic, but I'm talking about numbers of players. It's a lot better. But the NFL, I wonder if they're going to do politics. Or are they going to be fair? See, the game within the game is difficult at times because you don't know what a team's motive is. You don't know what the NFL's motive is. But the NFL keeps saying that they support our culture, our people, and they support HBCUs, and they're doing these commercials and so forth. And then they say they're trying to help out black coaches, so they put out the Rooney Rule. But there's barely any black coaches coaching in the NFL. They say all this. But you know what I want to see from them? I want to see them advocating for HBCU players. Not to give them trinkets and just give them a position. Or just draft an HBCU player because it's the morally right thing to do. No, 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 no. They have earned the right to be drafted. They're that damn good too. That's what I want to see. And someone asked me a couple of days ago who I believe will be the first HBCU player picked from talking to scouts and people that really watch film. Mark Evans. Now, some people may say, oh, Mark Evans played at a Arkansas Pine Bluff team that barely won. They don't care about that. They just care about your production. Mark Evans is very technically sound, doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. When you're 6'4", 300 plus pounds, can move like a gazelle, NFL teams look for that. And when you're not so handsy, having penalties all day, they're definitely looking for that too, because the NFL will call it. But here's my wild card. Isaiah Bolden. Yeah, I said it. Isaiah Bolden could be the first HBCU prospect to be drafted. 6'2", 205 pounds. Ran a 4.3 at the pro day. Had a 41-inch vertical. The best, I repeat, the best kick returner in the nation. I think so. And the night before the draft, and you saw the reports, he had multiple upon multiple teams calling him for his services. And teams better wise up. You better not let him slide in the draft, because there's going to be a great team that drafts him, probably 7th, 6th, 5th round. And you're going to say to yourself, man, we could have drafted him earlier. Or I can't believe the Chiefs or somebody, a contender, drafted Isaiah Bolden. That's what they're going to be saying to themselves. My favorite prospect overall, and this is just my favorite, I'm not saying the best in terms of what scouts think, Aubrey Miller. I just believe in players who have that dog in them that can contribute in any way. Not Isaiah Bolden, but Aubrey Miller is the type of player, if he's barely playing, he's going to contribute somewhere. Example, special teams. I think he can excel at that. He'll find his way on the field. He's just one of those old school throwback football players that likes to knock the crap out of someone. He has it. And I can't wait when he's drafted, because he's been the example in how you conduct yourself as an athlete. But he's been a leader to his community. He has been a player that coaches love to coach. He doesn't sugarcoat a damn thing. He reps HBCUs to the fullest. So I can't wait for the draft. Isaiah Land, I know some people are saying, oh, he's slim, he's this, he's that. But you can't coach motor. And you can't coach speed. When you watch his film, he is fast as shit. And with these new NFL defenses, where you don't have to be so big as a edge rusher, a team that's a perfect fit for Isaiah Land is a team that runs like a 3-4, where you could come off the edge, standing up, and being moved around. That's a perfect fit for him. Xavier Smith. Don't be surprised if Xavier Smith is one of those receivers where you say to yourself, we passed on him. Don't be surprised if Xavier Smith is one of those receivers instantaneously stands out in his rookie year. Bunch of catches. Always reliable. Man, every game FAMU played, the defenses knew Xavier Smith was the number one option, and you couldn't stop him. Whatever team he goes to, he is going to make the 53-man roster. I'm very sure of it. I'm very confident. Dallas Daniels. Now people are saying, well, he didn't have 1,000+ yards. He didn't have this. He didn't have that. But he was a receiver you could count on. His route running was impeccable. Catching, flawless. Fundamentally sound in the wide receiver position. Strong receiver, can break tackles. Does the little things well. Everybody talks about they need a receiver that runs a 4.3, 4.2. That's a blazer. If you look at the stats, the past 2 decades, the best receivers are receivers that run in the late 4.4s, 4.5s. Look at the stats. DeAndre Hopkins ran late 4.5s. CeeDee Lamb ran mid 4.5s. And the list goes on. Dallas Daniels is a player you have to watch out for because he could go 4th round, he could go in the 7th round, and if he's not drafted, he's going to make a roster just because he knows where to go to as a receiver. These quarterbacks today, not everyone's is as accurate as Patrick Mahomes. So they want their receivers to be at that area on their route. They want their routes to be crisp, and Dallas Daniels can provide that. I mean, I'll have all day to talk about HBCU prospects, but I had to shorten this video. So please forgive me. If there's a prospect that I did not name, I know there's a bunch of them, let me know in the comment section. I had to shorten this video because I'm not trying to be here all day. But thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to all the players that are going to be drafted or even signed that came from HBCUs. You're chasing your dreams. You have made all of us proud. And for those who support RawTruth Media, thank you for always tuning in. I know that YouTube is slacking on the notifications. It's all good. It's going to be all handled. So I'm not even worried about that. But continue to share, like this video. This is RawTruth Media, and I'm out.